Don't you have Army Committee? Who are we asking? Don't you have Navy Committee? Who are we asking? Don't you have Defense Committee? Who are we asking? Don't you have Security Committee? Mr. President, it is abnormal. And for me to sit here and begin to see my colleagues raising questions that we are the ones to provide answers for. Mr. President is just one president, elected there and the vice president. We are all elected. We are all accountable to the people. Just like Mr. President is elected, we are also elected.
Every person that wants to comment, forget about partisanship and just go ahead to say, I am a Nigerian and I don't like what is going on. If your own president can stay for 3 weeks sitting down, not sleeping, you should know that the country is under attack. And this is a time we must all come together. This is not a period for blame game. And you want to talk, look at the list of soldiers that Senator Ningi has shown me, who have been murdered already by these same bandits. And the police who have been murdered by these same bandits. So who is safe? A brigadier general in the Nigerian army will send out a message of his location and somebody will throw complicity, send the location to the bandits, and the bandits will go there and pick him like a rat and then slaughter him in a gruesome manner. You have a right to be angry. This is not the time to say this one is on this side, this one is on this side. There is nothing here. After all the other political parties have perished.
Mr. Chairman, it's not a rescue. Let's sit down, coordinated, go after these people and eliminate them. And make sure that within a period of time, we make sure that this thing is all over. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Moments like this, when you honestly see very clear design by some foreign powers to take over the affairs of this country, if you're a Nigerian, and a decent Nigerian, and a patriotic Nigerian, and you think that does not matter, I think you need to question your patriotism. You need to question your citizenship. Mr. President, at this point in time, what we require is a collective concern. This is not a military regime. This is a democratic regime where in the military you say the box stop on the table of the president. This is democracy. The box stop not only on the office at the desk of the president, the box also stopped on the table of the Senate president at the head of legislature. Now, following from what Sani Musa said, you see parliamentarians, the affects lawmaking body in Nigeria is the Senate. And Mr. President, you see us asking ourselves, looking for possible answers. Mr. President, the standing committees were not created for ceremonies. The standing committees were created to answer some of the questions arising from what senators are asking. Mr. President, we cannot sit here and security questions were raised as to what happened in Kebbi. Why did it happen? Who are we asking? Don't you have Army Committee? Who are we asking? Don't you have Navy Committee? Who are we asking? Don't you have Defense Committee? Who are we asking? Don't you have Security Committee? Mr. President, it is abnormal. And for me to sit here and begin to see my colleagues raising questions that we are the ones to provide answers for. Mr. President is just one president, elected there and the vice president. We are all elected. We are all accountable to the people. Just like Mr. President is elected, we are also elected. And we are also accountable to our constituents. But Mr. President, we need to rejig how we do things. We need to tell ourselves the home truth. Mr. President, it's just like a mirror. You put a mirror in your front, you see yourself, breaking the mirror will not change that image. No matter how you do, what you see is what you get. What you are is what you get. Mr. President, we need to be proactive, and we need to come with a very clear perspective how to deal with these issues. Mr. President, you and me discussed yesterday that the widow of late Ubah said nobody talked to her after her husband was gunned down. Nobody has communicated to her. Who are we going to ask? Are we going to tell the president to call commander-in-chief to ask? Or are we not having committee of the army here that will call the people? Look at this interview by Mrs. Ubah, Musa Ubah. What did you do and what did you not do? We learned from Governor of Kebbi State that officers were withdrawn. And we lament. Are we not having standing committees that are supposed to call these people? What did you do? And we keep passing the ball from Maradona to Pele. It is not going to work for us. Mr. President, just yesterday, 5 police officers, 3 of whom I know personally, were called broadly murdered in my constituency. What was the fault? They went to separate a fight between bandits and farmers. And these gentlemen were called brutally murdered. Mr. President, by your leave, I will have the honor to call the names of these officers. They were so brutally killed, not in the night. Not in the night. Broad day. They were summarily murdered because they were not carrying Spiro weapons. Only one of them was carrying AK-17. The other was carrying a Vision. AK-47. AK-47. Only one of them, the DSP. And the names of these officers, I will call their names. This is the reality of Nigeria. DSP Ahmed Mohammed, killed. Assistant Superintendent Mustafa Mohammed, killed. Inspector Amahil Yunusa, killed. Inspector Idris Ahmad, killed. Corporal Issa Muazu, killed. In my constituency, local government Darazo. Mr. President, you can imagine the agony that these families are undergoing. Mr. President, in the time past, we're having some of the best military formations, military officers. We're having some of the best police officers and police formation all across the globe. In fact, at a particular time, Major General Agwai got an outstanding honor as one of the best serving general in Africa. And today, Mr. President, did you ask yourself whether the Agwais and the Dambados of those years and the Njumas, several of them that are still alive, whether anybody has called these officers to say, please, gentlemen, where did we miss it? Why were we the very best military country in Africa? Why were we the best police country in Africa? And where are we here? So it is a collective endeavor, Mr. President, and as long as we continue to see kidnapping as just a crime, we're not going anywhere, because kidnapping has so much been commercialized. People are leaving their jobs in cities and villages, and kidnapping now is one of the best paying jobs in Nigeria, all across. In fact, kidnapping now pays more than oil. Kidnapping pays more than sitting as a senator or sitting in the villa. And therefore, as lawmakers, what do we need to do? We now look at kidnapping and say we must amend our laws to say kidnapping is a terrorist act and must therefore be treated as such and must therefore carry the death penalty. And that is some of the ways we have to go. Mr. President, the entire security architecture of our country we need just to sit down. It is not about talking in plenary here. It is not talking about one committee or the other. We must be able to find out. It's not about just national security. Every committee that needs to answer his name must answer his name here in plenary or in executive session. And therefore, going forward, most of the questions arising from our colleagues is not to the president, it's to ourselves. And therefore, the Senate Leader Office, with the understanding of the SP, must find a way in a situation like this, before we even peruse to the matter in details, we need to raise the chairman of committees to give us a synopsis of what they do, how they do it, and then following from that, then we can give our opinion, our recommendation, the way forward, the way this. But if every day we come here and we do some of these things that we only do it probably to appease our constituents, but the matter is not solved. Appeasing our constituency is just secondary. Getting peace is primary. People want to turn our country upside down, and we are looking at it as a joke. Day in, day out, a parliamentarian in Congress will make a whole contingent of federal government go there. Member of Congress, that is an equal of number of house. One person.
Member of the subcommittee.
Did you elect Trump? Did you elect him? The answer is no. As they are doing, we must also do. We are here because people elected us. And we are not answerable to any member of Congress, and we should not. But we can partner. We can partner. If they want to hear from us, they should hear from us. If we want to hear from them, we can hear from them. I've been to the Congress 3 times. I've been to UK Parliament 3 times. All on equal pedestal. Therefore, we must know our honor, our dignity. People will think that we have no standing. We have standing. We are the largest country in Africa and the biggest black nation on the face of this, and therefore, leadership must be provided. Let's just look inward. Let's put our acts together, and then we dare any outside power. But we have to put our acts together. Where the leadership comes begging, we must make it right. Where they need to be commended, we must commend them. The Nigerian people we must inspire them to believe what we are saying. Every day we talk like this, You go to the media, you go to the press, it's all talk. And that is true. But we need to change these things. Mr. President, I pray that in one of the prayers, we'll give a 1-minute silence on behalf of these murdered police officers. I so submit.
Wisdom and the presence of mind to allow this Senate to discuss these issues of national security at length. From the time when you bent over and allow us to bend the rules of the Senate to allow me to raise an issue of national importance regarding the abduction of the schools in the Maga Secondary School. Today, you have kept your eyes on the ball regarding the issues of security in this nation. Mr. President, I would also like to express our gratitude to the President and Commander-in-Chief of this nation, particularly not just about postponing or withdrawing from his intended international assignments, but also being there for the nation. I'm physically taking charge of all the activities that led to the freeing of various convicts who have been victims of the terrorists. I thank you and I thank the President. But there is one issue that is most important. This issue was raised by both Senator Wamako and Senator Akpabio. The issue of rescue is not enough. We must unite, like you say, to go after these criminals and bandits. We all know who they are. If we don't know who they are, how are we going to be able to negotiate and secure the release of some of these bandits? We know who they are. We know where they hibernate. We know the routes that they follow from one location to another. This is common knowledge to everybody, to the people who have been harassed and intimidated by these bandits. Everybody knows who they are, where they stay, the routes they follow. Why can't we nurture and move and garner the necessary strength to pursue these people simultaneously wherever they are and make sure that we eliminate them? The state is supposed to be the bastion of force. It has in its control legitimate use of force. We should not, under any circumstances, allow bandits to intimidate the nation, to send fear into our communities, to disband our own educational institutions. The threat, the education of our children, which is one of the most fundamental rights of the people of Nigeria, has now been put under question mark. All schools, particularly those cited in rural areas, have been asked to close. What message are we sending to the nation, to the people of the world? That there are some ragtag bandits who have defied the government and forced the government to close all its educational institutions. That does not speak well. That does not speak well for the image of this country and for the honor and dignity of our own people. The issue is not the rescue, Mr. Chairman. It's not the rescue. Let's sit down, coordinated, go after these people and eliminate them and make sure that within a period of time, we make sure that this thing is all over. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Very distinguished colleagues, I'm Ahmed Lawan, I represent Yobe North Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Nigeria is at war. That's our reality. And in a situation like this, the leadership of the country needs every possible support from all citizens. It is also time for unity. And let me say, Mr. President, that our armed forces are doing their best.
Senator Zam, approach the chair.
They are doing their best with the little funds and resources available to them. Mr. President, very soon we'll pass the budget for 2026. I will urge this Senate, and indeed the entire government, to ensure that we continue to improve on the resources available to our armed forces. And then we insist on value for money. Give them targets, set targets and time frames. But we must continue to give them more and more resources and make them more accountable and transparent. Mr. President, this administration, since 2023, has continued to give more and more resources to the armed forces and other security agencies. And this is because the National Assembly has been supportive too, because we need to approve it before it is finally made available to the armed forces. We should do that, and I want us to remember that today we get more revenues into the coffers of the federal government of Nigeria, and indeed across the country, the states too. Why can't we invest more out of these revenues that accrue to us? Because the security of lives and property, everyone knows, is the fundamental reason why a government exists. And no investor, even a local domestic investor, will invest comfortably in a country where the security is compromised. Talk less of foreign direct investments. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, we don't need to go to any part of the world to beg anybody to come to Nigeria to invest if we secure our country. Why? We are over 200 million. That's a huge and massive market for any product. And in fact, we excel everywhere in the world. Our challenges are within our country. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, we can continue to buy arms and ammunition and platforms from other countries, but that is not the way to go in the long run. Because we bought the Super Tucanos. What happened? So the sensors that we needed on those Super Tucanos were not made available. We have therefore every reason to devote so much resources and make the right policies and legislations for DICON, the Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria, based in Kaduna, to function. The president, when he came into office, the DICON Act was one of the first acts he signed. And today, we have some companies that have to do with defense industries trying to come into Nigeria. We have to encourage them. We have to provide the enabling environment through legislation and right policies for them to stay and produce those kind of arms and ammunition and platforms that we require in our country. They'll be cheaper, they'll be more available. Sometimes when we even pay for the purchase in other countries, what will come to us in 1 month could be there for 3 months, or 3 years rather. Why? Politics. Mr. President, so far, the situation in the last 1 month in Nigeria is tense, is tough, and requires full support, complete and total support for the leadership of this country to lead and fight and win against the insurgency and banditry in the country. But one of our colleagues said, this is not to be left to government alone or to our armed forces alone. Citizens have roles to play, but we need to give the citizens the courage to reveal information and protect such citizens who volunteer information. Thank you very much for the privilege to speak.
What you have just said is that even distinguished senators, the Northwest Zonal hearing of the Committee on National Security Summit will take place this Saturday, 29th of November 2025, at Umaru Musa Yaradua Hall, Moritala Mohammed Square, Racecourse in Kaduna by 10 a.m. Senators from the Northwest Zone are to please note that the attendance is of utmost importance. This is signed by distinguished Senator Babangida Hussein Ubah, Walen Gazare, and Chairman, Northwest Zone of this Zonal Security Summit. So just as you are talking, I think we also have another one from the yes. We have when distinguished deputy leader. When is the one of North Central?
Tomorrow morning.
So tomorrow in Jos, North Central will be having their Zonal Security Summit. When these reports are all in, initially we fixed 1st December for the national, but we have to move it because it's too close. So we can compile, including what we are discussing here now. So that when we bring out the position paper of the Nigerian Senate on the insecurity in the nation, particularly in the last few weeks, it will be very comprehensive. And it's
How can an offense that carry death penalty, a judge reduce it to 20 years in prison? That is not acceptable. But he has violated the laws passed by the parliament. Number three, sir, and this will be the last.
Has that happened in Nigeria already?
It has.
That
somebody convicted of terrorism was sentenced to 20 years in prison.
No.
Pardon?
No.
What was it?
No, not saying no. Not saying no.
Can I be allowed to land? In moments like this, the devil can come in and make us so confused that we might turn against ourselves and then by default allow the enemy to behave as if he's happy at an upper hand. However, what I think we should do, which under your leadership, even in your statement, you have already encouraged us to come up with such suggestion, is in the light of what we now know, what can we begin to do differently and contribute those ideas to support the executive initiative? One there, for example, is, and you amplified it, even in greater details than any one of us in this house, when you revisited the statement by the governor of Kebbi State. Nigerians are entitled to know, and it is no longer national secret. The commander of that area who ordered that those men be withdrawn, it is to be a national secret to be kept within military cycle. Nigeria should know, President.
Is it the view of the Senate? Yes. That those against say no, the ayes have it. That is taken.
The penalty on terrorism. This parliament is on record as having done that. Mr. President, I am troubled when, after all the efforts that security agencies and the prosecuting authorities have to invest to secure conviction, because unfortunately the state cannot behave like a mob. So you have to prosecute, follow due process. I am troubled by the conflicting judgment by various high court judges. Sentiment of a judge, the will of the people as conveyed in a law, that the president can decide if there are reasons for him to do so, whether to commute or to reduce. How can an offense that carry death penalty, a judge reduce it to 20 years in prison? That is not acceptable. But he has violated the laws passed by the parliament. Number three, sir, and this will be the last.
Has that happened in Nigeria already?
It has.
That
somebody convicted of terrorism was sentenced to 20 years in prison.
No.
Pardon?
No.
What was it?
No, not saying no. Not saying no.
Can I be allowed to land?
Governor of Kebbi said that somebody ordered troops out and people were kidnapped. Till today, nobody in Nigeria knows what happened. And no question has been asked. And we are sitting down here as a parliament, and we turn and we talk. Statement, which I will quote. He says that in times of universal deceit, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act. We are being told every day to be patriotic. We are being told here that we shouldn't say anything against. We are being told that, oh, you shouldn't talk about the past. You should focus on the present. Yet, on this floor, rather than focus on what we are supposed to talk about, we go back to say, oh, during 2015, oh, the Chibok girls happened, and oh, we are now rescuing people. People were not rescued at that time. During Chibok, 17 local governments in Katsina were not having parleys with bandits. People in Kebbi
We are not leaving all the rural areas and coming to only the urban areas to stay. People in Niger, we are not being kidnapped. So why do we need to? At any time we need to talk about the present issues of today. We go back to start to look for excuse for our failures of today. I only want to say, let us do the right thing. We're not blaming this government for what they are finding itself, but it is the government in power, and they should do the right thing. What are the right things? We take only one example. The governor of Kebbi said that somebody ordered troops out and people were kidnapped. Till today, nobody in Nigeria knows what happened, and no question has been asked. And we are sitting down here as a parliament, and we turn and we talk. Yet, somebody is responsible. If I'm the commander-in-chief, I will call the army commander in that place and the head of the army and say, if you don't get me the head of this person, who withdrew the troops to put all these children in jeopardy? Then you make an example of him. That is how a country is run. A country is not run on pacification. A country is run on confronting issues. I rest my case.
I think it is time for Nigeria to allow us to be carrying arms. If not, these boys, you see them, you will just be vomiting. In the church, where this man is discussing with us, was discussing with us, these are small boys carrying guns. If all of us, particularly the elite, and we are at war, he should stand as the real, he's a commander-in-chief because he listens and